What's up, everyone? We've had a crazy 24 hours of UFC 279. We had the UFC press conference getting absolutely canceled due to multiple brawls backstage. And then now we're having UFC 279 reshuffled with the top three fights on the card. It was originally Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev, Tony Ferguson versus Jingliang, and Kevin Holland versus DRod. And now everything is being switched up due to Khamzat Chimaev missing a weight. I don't know how he missed weight for this. They're saying it's a bunch of medical issues. I think that's very interesting. I wonder what he is going through. But yeah, it was very weird because last night there was multiple reports, not multiple reports, but the mini Khabib girl said that he was eating and drinking water the night before his weigh-in, came in 8.5 pounds over the welterweight limit. Was it 8.5 or 7.5? He came in at 178.5 pounds, and now we have a bunch of new matchups being made. This is what's being reported. I think only the main event has pretty much been confirmed, which is Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz. I believe these next two fights are being heavily rumored to happen. Kevin Holland versus Khamzat Chimaev and Li Jingliang versus Daniel Rodriguez. So I'll be predicting these three new fights that are being made. And yeah, let's get right into it. For the first fight, we have Li Jingliang versus Daniel Rodriguez. They match up pretty similarly, and Daniel Rodriguez will have a 2.5-inch reach advantage for this fight, and he will have a half-inch leg reach advantage. This fight is pretty interesting in general because Daniel Rodriguez did weigh in at 180 at catch weight for the Kevin Holland fight, and Li Jingliang weighed in at 170 pounds. So we will have a 10-pound weight advantage here. 3 rounds. I am leaning Li Jingliang in this fight, even with the weight advantage for Daniel Rodriguez. I think Li Jingliang just has that power in his hands that he could possibly catch Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez hasn't fought in over a year, has 2 or 3 hand surgeries. I don't know what he's going to be like in this fight. For some reason, Li Jingliang just tends to catch people really perfectly with his hands. If he were to finish DRod, I think it'll be probably a late second round finish. I think DRod will actually do pretty well in the first round. He'll come out with all his combos, put Li Jingliang more on his back feet a little bit, and then Li Jingliang will start to find his distance, work the body a little bit, and then just catch DRod with a good punch and then TKO him in the late second round. I do think Li Jingliang's power is going to be a big issue here for DRod. But yes, even with the reach advantage, which is relatively big, but I am leaning Li Jingliang for the win here. Let's see if I can bring up my check mark. There you go. Li Jingliang by a second round TKO. All right, let's get into the next matchup. I'm going to take this off the screen so you can see. We have Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland at 180 pounds pretty much. I heard this could be a 5-round fight. If it's a 5-round fight, it could be more interesting. 3 rounds, it could be also. But obviously, Khamzat Chimaev is undefeated in this matchup. They're both similar in age, similar in height, similar in weight. Khamzat will be heavier during the fight. Reach advantage-wise, Kevin Holland will have 6 inches in this fight, which is really interesting for this matchup. I believe I saw he came in at like a plus 700, plus 650 underdog for this fight. I'm putting my money, not putting a bunch of money on that. I'm just putting like a couple dollars on it, hoping to get something out of it. Because in all honesty, I didn't think Khamzat Chimaev was going to miss weight. I didn't think the press conference was going to get canceled. I didn't think all those things will happen. There are spots where Kevin Holland can win this fight, which is why plus 650 isn't I don't want to miss that on a bet. But I am going to take Khamzat Chimaev in this fight. I think he is just going to ground and pound Kevin Holland. Initially in the stand-up in the first round, I think Kevin Holland will actually get the best of Khamzat Chimaev quite a bit. Khamzat Chimaev doesn't really move his head that too much and isn't crazy on the feet. He has some pretty good power. He could catch Kevin Holland, but I think Kevin Holland's range here, he could use his jab, and I think he's just going to pick apart Khamzat Chimaev, and I think Khamzat Chimaev might be in a little bit of danger during the first round of that fight. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to go for a takedown. I think Kevin Holland will initially kind of stuff it, will get away a little bit, and I think Khamzat Chimaev will eventually get that takedown later, halfway through the first round. and start ground and pounding Kevin Holland. Not halfway through the first round. I would say probably towards the end of the first round. Start ground and pounding Kevin Holland on the ground, holding him there, pinning him there, and dealing damage there. I don't know if he's going to submit him either. Obviously, Alex Oliveira got Kevin Holland's back at one point. Tim Means, I don't think, was able to take down Kevin Holland. So this should be pretty interesting. I think just the weight advantage for Khamzat Chimaev. He isn't going to be drained from what I know. And the way it ends, he didn't look drained at all. I think he can take down Kevin Holland and ground and pound him there. In all honesty, Kevin Holland is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't know if he is going to get submitted. But with the power and things like that, how strong Khamzat Chimaev is, I wouldn't be surprised if he does submit Kevin Holland. But I don't know. This is actually a weirdly interesting matchup. That's why I'm going to put a little bit of money on Kevin Holland. But I do see Khamzat Chimaev in a the 3-round fight. I think it could go to decision. I'm not too bullish on that. My bet for this would probably be second round. Second round finish for Khamzat Chimaev. There you go. Probably just ground and pound. I think he'll probably just pin him against someplace and just beat the hell out of him with his hands. 5-round fight becomes more interesting as the rounds go on. But I think in a 3-round fight, I'm taking Khamzat Chimaev by second round finish. And I think the same thing will probably happen in a 5-round fight. But I am keeping my eye on Holland when betting 100%. Because when the fight goes on, I think you could probably see Khamzat Chimaev tire himself out a little bit. And possibly Kevin Holland get the upset. We've seen Khamzat Chimaev get knocked down by Gilbert Burns. Obviously, it was a firefight. He was trying to just throwing stuff. But the reach advantage here, the power in Kevin Holland's hands. He's at 180. He didn't drain himself too much. Maybe his cardio is good in this fight. Maybe he has a little bit more power in his hands because he's a little higher weight. But yeah. Well, I know he wasn't cutting too much at 185, but just in general, he's comfortable here. He's been here before. Khamzat Chimaev probably won't be as drained either. So a very interesting matchup that I think people aren't realizing how interesting it is. I don't know. I don't think Kevin Holland's going to get subbed. There could be a chance here. Alex Oliveira obviously had his back. But I don't know. A very interesting matchup. Weirdly interesting. But I am going to take Khamzat Chimaev. Next fight on the card, we have the main event of the evening. Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz. Obviously made because Khamzat Chimaev didn't make weight. This is the fight Nate Diaz did want, which is why they didn't put Dustin Poirier into the spot. It is all but confirmed at this point. For this fight, a very entertaining fight. They're both very durable. They're both in the latter part of their careers. Nate Diaz will have, I guess Tony Ferguson will have a half-inch reach advantage in this fight. And a 2.5, what is that, let me take their officer's ring. 2.5-inch leg reach advantage in this fight. But yeah, I think I'm going to take Tony Ferguson to win by a decision. This should be a pretty fun fight. You'll have them doing all their little emotes and all their mocks and all during the fight. Maybe we see an ankle pick or something. That would be pretty funny. But I am going to take Tony Ferguson in this fight. He did look really good in the first round against Michael Chandler. Nate Diaz hasn't looked too good recently. I think Tony Ferguson is going to be able to use his elbows, use some of his combinations, walk down Nate Diaz. This will be a 5-round fight. So maybe because Tony Ferguson was prepared for a 3-round fight, this may be a little different. They are coming in very heavy. They don't look like they're super muscular. This is an updated photo for Tony Ferguson. He does have a belly there. Said he was drinking slushies at 170. And Nate Diaz is, I don't want to say natural, but he normally fights at 155, moved up a couple fights ago to 170. He looked a little bigger for this fight week also. So these are two very interesting matchups. 5 rounds. I'm going to go Tony Ferguson for the win. Hopefully he can get back on track. Do Khabib versus Tony Ferguson tough, and then maybe lead that into a Conor matchup when Conor comes back. You have Tony Ferguson coming off a win against Nate Diaz. He'll have a bunch of popularity from that fight. And then you can lead him up to Conor McGregor and have that fight too. Should be both very fun fights. I hope that's the plan, but I really hope tough Khabib versus Tony Ferguson happens too. They don't have to fight either. I don't know why people say that, but they don't have to fight. But yeah, Tony Ferguson, elbows. It won't go to the ground. And yeah, this is what I got. 3 updated matchup predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.